Let's talk about the schedule and the goals for next season.
You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into Locked On Syracuse. I'm Jackson Holzer, and thank you for making us your first listen of every single day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day, and we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And on today's show, we're joined by Neil Adler from Inside the Loud House. We're going to talk about Syracuse football's schedule, their expectations for next season, and of course, the goals for the Orange. What are reasonable goals that we think the Orange should accomplish next season? And comment right now in the comment section below your thoughts on that, because we're also going to hear from Neil Adler and from myself in this podcast. Before we get to everything, this episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Thank you so much, Neil, for hopping on here. What are your thoughts on Syracuse's schedule?
Oh, Jackson, thanks for having me on as always, brother. I think it's a doozy. Of course, this is all, on paper, conjecture, speculation, blah, blah, blah. But it's, it looks really fun on one hand and intriguing, in terms of the opponents and some of the storylines, et cetera. But it just looks really tough, especially given that, again, on paper, by and large, their toughest opponents, at least if you're looking at kind of like this past year and projecting into next year, are on the road. And then obviously Tennessee at a neutral site, which is probably more in Tennessee's favor in late August in Atlanta. So my initial reaction is let's bring it on. And my second reaction is, oh no, this as we've, and you've been so nice having me on your pods throughout the year. It was such a lovely 2024. It had some ups and downs, obviously losing to Stanford stunk, but 10-3, number 20 final ranking in the AP poll, win your bowl game, Kyle McCord, all his records and all the other. I mean, it was a really nice season, and certainly on a recruiting, standpoint, as you talk about all the time, they're trending in a nice direction. But the schedule for next year, it's tough. I think that anyone realistically expecting the 2025 team to win 10 games might be, again, this is pure speculation. We're months out. We haven't had spring practices, spring game, spring portal, et cetera. But I think that would be a little bit unrealistic, given that there's no Kyle McCord, other weapons of his, veteran guys on offense, as well as some defensive guys are gone. And certainly other guys will come in and take their place, whether it's returnees or prep recruits or transfers, et cetera. But just all in all, it's with so many moving pieces and presumably not as strong at the quarterback position, because how can Kyle McCord set crazy program and ACC records. So not having that and having a tougher schedule, I think it will make it really challenging to have 10 wins this year. As we were saying offline a couple times recently, I'd be happy with 7-5, but we can play this game. I can see them going 5-7, but 7-5, 8-4, I take that all day and all night, given what they have, and the fact that, again, their toughest opponents for the most part are, that neutral site game and on the road.
I think I'll take bowl or better. How about that?
Yeah, that's
because
great.
I don't really see too much of a difference between winning 6 regular season games and 7 regular season games.
Mm-hmm.
Like I really, and as far as like missing a bowl is missing a bowl to me. Like I do not want to see 5 or less wins on the schedule. Obviously, It would look prettier if you go 5-7 versus like 3-9. Sure. But in reality, missing a bowl is missing a bowl. I'll take 6-6 or better. And for those that might think that we're being pessimistic, you know what, Neil? You know what we're going to do right now? We're going to lay out the positivity, okay? We're going to do the positivity.
Yeah.
Do the people want to know the way that Syracuse football overachieves this season? Do you want to know? You all want to know?
I want to know. Sure.
You ready? I'll tell you what it is.
Yeah.
But first, Neil, tell me who the quarterback is going to be. Just tell me. Tell me real quick. Who do you think it is?
I think it's going to be Rickie Collins.
All right. You think Rickie Collins?
Who do you think?
I think it's also going to be Rickie Collins, at least at the start of the season. And then if he doesn't play well, then
who do you think? Okay, so by extension, I'll ask the question. Who do you think is like, would be neck and neck with him, like as the presumed backup? Is it, you got a lot of underclassmen there.
Carney.
So. Carney? Okay.
Yeah. Carney.
Okay.
I think that's the guy. But I think that Collins is going to have the upper hand to start the season. So the way that they overachieve, the way that they beat some of these teams that look very daunting on paper is very simple. They get Heisman caliber quarterback play again. How about that? If we get a quarterback, whoever it is, let's say it's Rickie Collins, and he plays, look, he's not going to set ACC records for passing yards.
Yeah, that's
but he plays he finishes top 10 in Heisman voting just like Kyle McCord. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? You could start looking at Syracuse's schedule and say, why can't they go to Georgia Tech and win that game? Why can't they go to Miami? I mean, Miami, it's nice weather. I mean, they didn't play defense last year. They're going to play defense again.
Yeah.
Part of the reason why, and I've laid it out before here on this podcast, that the schedule looks as hard as it does is because of the quarterback play for Syracuse football and the uncertainty of it. If we had Kyle McCord coming back for another year, we look at the schedule and say, yeah, it's hard. Yeah, it looks hard, but you know what? You got Kyle McCord. You might have the best quarterback on the entire slate.
Exactly. It's an Collins has talent. I mean, he was at LSU. I think he's a redshirt freshman, 3 years of eligibility left, if I remember correctly.
He's going to be a redshirt sophomore. I mean, he's already been in college for 3 years.
Right. But he hasn't, obviously hasn't thrown a lot of passes. And then you've got, Carney and Bellin and Jakari Williams, and then Michael Johnson Jr., who's in his 6th or 7th year. I agree with you. It's an unproven commodity, but sure, yeah. Let's say it is Rickie Collins and he comes out and just looks gangbusters, then that kind of changes the sentiments. But yeah, if Kyle McCord had decided to come back, I would say, even with that schedule, I might not say, oh yeah, I think they're gonna go 10-2 or 9-3 in the regular season, but I would put the floor with a Kyle McCord back at 7-5, 8-4, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
But yeah, with Rickie or any of those other guys, we just don't know. But I mean, let's see how spring practices go, the spring game, and do you think they might look at another quarterback in the spring portal window? And I think it's from mid to late April now.
I don't think so. And so I had on Mike McAllister last night. And
yeah, he would know better than anyone.
he mentioned Nebraska canceling their spring game.
Yeah.
They canceled their spring game because Matt Rule, who's the coach of of Nebraska, excuse me, same color scheme. But he mentioned that he doesn't want any of these outside schools to get a look at their players. What if Rickie and Mike McAllister mentioned something really funny on the podcast? He talked about, what if Rickie Collins throws for 5 touchdowns and is amazing in the spring game?
Are people going to try and poach him?
Yeah.
Anything goes in college sports now, and we're focused on college football and this. But yeah, with NIL and revenue sharing coming up and all, but I don't know. I saw that news yesterday, Jackson, and I was just like, I understand where he's coming from, but I was like, no, I'm not talking about Mike. Mike's awesome. I'm talking about Coach Rule. I was just like, this is lame. We're just I don't know. I mean, I understand, but it's we're just everyone's so afraid of just go out there and play. I mean, if stuff happens, then stuff happens. I mean, I understand it, but I don't like that at all. Actually,
I think it would leave a very sour taste in all of our mouths if they decided to cancel the spring game. And also, I really don't think that even if Rickie Collins went out and threw for 5 touchdowns, that all of a sudden he's going to re-enter the portal. I don't see it happening.
But but I will tell you, and I don't know Coach Rule, although didn't Fran Brown coach? Did he coach under him for a little bit?
I think he did.
Yeah.
I think he did at Baylor?
Was it at Baylor or Temple?
There's probably someone in the comments.
Yeah, there's.
But I think it's Baylor.
But in terms of Fran, I don't think he would ever cancel a spring game because he's said on so many occasions rather frankly and eloquently, in my opinion, if dudes want to hit the portal, then see ya. Like, and wish him well. But like, he doesn't, they either want to play for him or they don't. Like, so yeah. And I don't know if Rickie Collins or whoever throws for 5 touchdowns, if that all of a sudden means, he's going to get put, but Coach Brown he seems to be of the mindset, you want to come play for me, play for me. If you don't, I wish you well, but see you later. So, but the whole spring, the spring game, and I don't know what it's like in Nebraska, and I don't have really an opinion either way about Nebraska, but there was so much excitement around it last year for Syracuse, obviously with Fran Brown, and he, comments he made ahead of time, we're going to really hit, it's not going to just be this like whatever exhibition. So, yeah, I don't see him canceling the spring game ever.
Yeah. We're in agreement here. Looking for tickets to your next big event? Whether it's a concert, a comedy show, or a sports game, finding the right ticket at the right price can be a headache. But with Gametime Picks, it's never been easier. Let me tell you how it works. With Gametime Picks, the app does all the hard work for you. It curates the best deals, so you don't have to waste time searching through endless ticket listings. I've been using Gametime Picks for a while now, and here's why I love it. The curated deals makes it super simple to find great tickets at a great price. No more shifting through thousands of options. I recently grabbed a super deal for a prime seat, and I couldn't believe the value was a steal. The seat view feature is a game changer. Before I even hit buy, I can see exactly what my seat will look like in the venue. It's so reassuring. And the best part, you're covered with Gametime's lowest price guarantee. If you find a better deal somewhere else, they'll refund 110% of the difference. Plus, your tickets are guaranteed to be delivered on time with easy cancellation options if something comes up. Ready to make your next event even better? Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. We are joined by Neil Adler from Inside the Loud House. We're giving our takes on the schedule. I think we're both in agreement on that so far, as well as Syracuse football spring game. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a thing. They just have not announced the date yet. Hopefully we get that soon. We'll stick here with the football conversation. We'll talk about some of the expectations right now. And so you kind of hinted at what your win total, what you expect, 6, 7, 8 wins around that territory. Neil, in your opinion, aside from quarterback play, because we already touched on that, how do you think Syracuse can meet or even exceed the expectations?
Ooh. Well, the first two things that stick out to me, and I guess I'm kind of like basing it on areas that were problematic, concerning, there was issues throughout the year. I mean, it'd be on the defensive side, and it would also be in special teams, in terms of, the punting game and having punts blocked and obviously in the place kicking game. On the defensive side, the team in 2024, I thought had some really nice players. I just felt like the defense had some moments here and there, but didn't overwhelm me in terms of wow me. And then, losing guys like Marlo Wax and Justin Barron and Fidel Day. I mean, those are veteran guys, really good players. So, how is this team going to fare? Again, whether we're talking about on the line and in the middle and at the linebacker position in the secondary, they got some returnees, and they obviously got not as many transfers as they did a cycle ago because they have so many prep recruits, the most in the country, at least during the early signing period. So to me, I am curious, besides the quarterback play, and even though LaQuint Allen was just, I think, really awesome, I don't see a huge drop off. I mean, maybe that's wishful thinking. I think Willis is going to be really good. Although, again, Allen, he rushed for over 1,000 yards, but he's also a really good receiver. So that'll be tough to replace. But I'm not as worried, quote unquote, about the running back room. And I think there's some nice pieces at receiver. But, again, replacing OG with a guy like Jimmy Tremble, who was highly ranked but didn't play at all this past. Did he catch any balls this past year? I don't even.
He might have caught one against.
Yeah, and that's not. I'm not.
I think that was
it. But he looks like he can be really, really good. But OG was an All-American, so we'll see. But yeah, for me, it's definitely the special teams and the defense. And I know that's kind of vague somewhat, but I mean, I still think the offense could be maybe not as strong as this past year, but still good. And they have, great assistant coaches and all that. But yeah, I'd love to see the defense just be a little bit more imposing. I mean, they gave up, I don't remember off the top of my head what their rank was in terms of like, yards allowed and points allowed, but it wasn't like great in the ACC. So, we'll see. But those would be the two main areas. I think special teams will be better. I do. And obviously they got a couple new coaches coming in as well.
Yes, they got a new special teams coach. Yeah. Jeff Nixon, by the way, the offensive coordinator. Good news on that front.
Yes.
Houston Texans. He interviewed with them. Houston Texans decided to go in a different direction with their offensive coordinator. So as of right now, things can obviously change, but he's still the offensive coordinator for Syracuse football. I guess for me, and how I think they could, aside from quarterback play, meet or exceed expectations, I think boils down to run defense. They did not have a good run defense at all. It was one of the worst in the ACC, if not the worst. You can fact check me on that one. But, I mean, look, they got Chris Thomas from Marshall in the portal. They got David Reese in the portal on Monday night.
Got him. Yep.
And they still have Deion Wilson coming back from injury. They got Murad Watson coming back. You got Rashard Perry coming back.
Yeah, they got some good players.
So the defensive line, to me, might be a little bit stronger. So, and let's be honest, they're going to need to have a good defensive line, because you look at some of the teams that they're playing, and they're going to have pretty good fronts with pretty good offenses that can run the ball. I mean, Tennessee is going to be able to run the ball, right?
Yeah.
SMU can run the ball at a high level. Georgia Tech, I mean, that's exactly what they're known for.
Well, that's their bread and butter.
That's their bread. And Miami can run a little. Notre Dame on the road. I mean, you're not winning that game if you can't stop the run.
Right.
So to me, one of the ways really they can meet or exceed expectations is have a much better run defense than they had a year ago. Even if they are middle of the pack in the ACC, even if that's a significant upgrade, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I would agree. Their run defense definitely left a lot to be desired, and if they weren't last, they were not good. Let's just be honest. So, and I do agree the defensive line I think can be improved. But I will be curious to see how the linebacking unit as well as the guys on the edge, how they fare. And they did lose some pieces in the secondary, but obviously Deuce is back, and they got I was a little. I don't know if we've chatted since it happened, at least not formally. Were you surprised that Barnes left? I was.
I honestly was.
Yeah, so was
I didn't see that one coming.
I didn't either. There are certain guys I was like, okay, I'm not surprised by this, but I was like, he was really high on Fran Brown, and I was surprised by that one.
I think I know what happened.
Well, then more.
Paid him.
What's that?
I think SMU paid him.
Oh,
That's probably what happened. That's the best explanation I got.
Yeah. Is what it is, my friend. It is what it is. But I agree with you, and I think a stronger run defense will definitely go a long way. And it'll be interesting to see. I was so fascinated about this upcoming season, just given it was Fran Brown's first year and all the new coaches and all the new players. But then it's like there's even more mystery around next season in some ways, just because of. We don't know, yet about the quarterback, and then there are some key returnees and transfers, and again incoming freshmen that are really, really, look good on paper. But there is like a lot of more throughout the roster. I feel like more unprovenness. Is that a word? Or like,
yeah, I mean, it's a younger team.
So yeah.
A younger team by default is going to be less proven than a more veteran team, which is what Syracuse had last season. A lot of if you look at the production for Syracuse, so you look at their big stat leaders across the board, most of it was upperclassmen.
Upperclassmen, sure. Yeah.
Quarterback, running back, wide receiver was Jackson Meeks, Trevor Pena. At least Trevor Pena's coming back. Aronde Gadsden.
Yep.
Offensive line was a veteran unit too.
Yeah, Pena coming back, I think it was that was big. Yeah. He had a great year last year, and he'll be one of the leaders of this team. I'll be curious. I'm curious, now that I'm thinking about it, because I believe, again, following Reese's, commitment or decision to transfer. So I think they have like 7 transfers. I wonder which one will make like the biggest impact? I mean, obviously Rickie Collins is a starting quarterback.
Aside from Rickie Collins.
Yeah, like I'm kind of curious about that.
I think it could be Reese. I think
be
that was a
Reese?
low-key move. And I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
I know where his transfer ranking is. Like he's like almost not even top 1,000 in the portal, which I found weird.
Yeah.
But I get it because those transfer rankings are not saying here's the 1,000 most talented players. They factor everything into it. So it's years of eligibility, production, what school you played at. And when you look at Reese, 11 sacks in the last 2 years at a Power 4 program is good. But the reason why he gets pushed down so much in the transfer rankings is, what is he going to be, an 8th-year senior?
Yeah.
He was in the same recruiting class as Trevor Lawrence.
Right. He was 2018. This will be his 8th year. He had some red shirts and the COVID waiver. And I actually wrote an article that'll publish later tonight, and just kind of looked into him a little bit further because they had some interesting stats under his bio at the California website. And he had a good, like, this past year wasn't, at least production wise, as good, but in 2023 he was pretty good. He had like some good stats, and they mentioned under his stats that he was like Phil Steele, Phil Steele, of course, had him like on his all Pac-12 fourth team. I mean, fourth team, but I mean, no, he was solid. Like he was a 4-star, prep recruit again a long time ago, and he had a Syracuse offer from back in the day, and he was ranked, inside the top 150 nationally by rivals. The composite rankings, but I mean, like, the dude can play. But yeah, I mean, obviously he's been around and he's obviously experienced playing in Florida. And
he's got experience. I don't get it.
But I mean, like, all kidding. Yeah, no, like,
Kyle McCord can't even get 5.
I know, right? All kidding aside, I think he did the right thing, Kyle. By the way, I think he's improved his stock, and it sounds like Fran Brown told him to go anyway. But no, I agree. I think that's a good call in terms of like besides Rickie, like what the next transfer that they have so far you think can make the biggest impact. I think Reese could do it. Yeah. I wonder if you think Fran's son will get playing time.
He's got to earn it.
Yeah, of course.
He's got to earn it. I don't know. We'll find out if they add another linebacker in the spring transfer portal. We are joined by Neil Adler from Inside the Loud House. We're giving our schedule thoughts, expectations for next year, how they can meet or exceed them. And let's get to the goals for Syracuse football. What are your goals, aside from wins and losses, for the Orange in 2025?
Oh, that's a good question. I like that. Definitely beat Tennessee in the opening game because we are the cooler color orange. I mean, our mascot is literally Otto the Orange. So that'd be a tough one, though. Yeah, I think for me, again, putting aside like the uncertainty over quarterback and that whole thing, and the team might take, I don't like to use the word regress, but might take a step back in terms of the passing attack. But like, that doesn't mean that they're regressing. Let's look at the circumstance. Kyle McCord, whatever, I don't want to even get into the backstory at Ohio State. He was still a proven commodity. The dude threw 24 touchdowns against 6 or 7 picks at Ohio State as a starter. Yes, he lost to Michigan, but he was 11-1. Rickie Collins, assuming he's a starter, again, coming in from an SEC school, but it's just not an apples to orange, no pun intended, comparison. So putting quarterback to the side, I would agree with you about the run defense. For me, it's, again, just kind of taking a broader picture. I would just like to see the defense in general be more consistent, be more dominant. I mean, maybe dominant's an unrealistic word given who they're playing and where they're playing some of these harder teams, but just like get the amount of points they're giving up per game like down, especially because they might not be scoring as much because they're, in part because their passing attack might be, not quite as prolific. But yeah, definitely just more consistency on the defensive side, more consistency in special teams. I am curious to see if Willis is going to be the starting running back or if he'll be Nixon's son. We'll see there. But again, they've and who are the other thing is who, and I'm kind of putting this out as a talking point, besides Pena, who are going to be the key receivers, whether it's at tight end, you were talking about Jamie Tremble, guy like Jimmy Tremble who's got talent, or traditional wide receivers who are going to be the main guys. I'm curious what's going on with Zeke Haynes. It's he
all indications. Mike McAllister, I had him on last night,
Yeah.
and he said that he's
good to go.
Yeah, he should be good to go. I mean,
Good.
He should be on the spring roster. I mean,
That dude has
teams.
tons of talent. Yeah, I mean, he came in as a higher rated transfer than Meeks, I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah,
but Meeks was awesome. He was awesome. So
I would say,
and
regarding the receivers, Daryl Gill.
Mm-hmm.
I think Daryl Gill's in for a jump, and I've said that before on this podcast, and I will continue on that hill until the season obviously starts, and hopefully Daryl Gill proves me right. I really like him.
Yeah.
Took a big jump in year 2, and he was like a 5th option. Now you're telling me he's going to be, I think he's the number 1 receiver. I mean, aside from Pena's an own category. I've had this conversation with people before, but when I talk about number 1 wide receiver, I mean number 1 outside wide receiver.
Sure.
So I think he is going to be the number 1 outside guy. Pena is the slot receiver. That's a
slot. Yeah, sure. Of
different
course.
position, but
yeah.
I think if he steps up and has a big year, I think that's a really, really good sign for Syracuse football, particularly on offense, because if he's really good, and assuming that Pena stays where he's at, which is one of the best slot receivers in the game, you got a couple of really nice targets for whoever's throwing the football. And look, anyone else is gravy at that point.
Yeah.
As far as stepping up.
Yeah, I was really high this past year. He didn't get a lot of run, but like coming in as an incoming freshman, I think Emmanuel Ross can be really good. I think he was their highest rated recruit, either depending on the recruiting service. And again, I know recruiting rankings mean nothing now, but him or Tremble, but Ross was up there, and and Haynes, and it'll be interesting to see. Like, what is your main thing that you want to see again besides getting to a bowl? Like you mentioned the run defense. Any other things in particular that you're really high on?
Well, putting aside quarterback play, because I think that's going to be the main goal. I really just want to see what young players step up.
Yeah.
And it's more of a year of figuring out which young players you want to build around in 2026 and in the future. And it's tough to do that because there is such thing as the transfer portal. So you might think you have a player that you want to develop around, but they could just enter the portal and throw a wrench into it. But you can't really think like that during the season.
Yeah,
you want to play young guys, and look, with the schedule, it's also a great opportunity. I mean, they're going to be thrown right into the fire week 1 against Tennessee. Like, okay, you're a young guy. You're a redshirt freshman. You didn't play last year because we had a veteran team and it was really good. Well, all right, here you go. Here's your chance. You're going to play Tennessee. You ready? Like, let's go. I'm like fired up just thinking about it. Like, what young players, who's going to surprise us, who's going to step up? And you want really as many young players as possible stepping up for this team. All right.
That's great.
Neil, let's conclude the football talk. Brief basketball. All right.
Okay.
This episode, by the way, is airing on Wednesday morning. I know we are recording this on Tuesday evening. But Neil, any thoughts on Syracuse and Duke tonight? Is there anything you want to say about
it? I've had a couple different pieces out about that. I had one talking about Malik Brown and kind of my mixed emotions. And it's like, I never wish former players like ill will after they've transferred out. I don't, I'll kind of inside, I'll root for them when they're not playing Syracuse because I want them to just succeed unless there was like some nasty situation. So I'm like rooting for Malik. Plus he's from Virginia. I'm from the DMV, but I'd be fine if he's, played 25 minutes and scored 5 points or 10 points and got 20 rebounds. If Syracuse wins the game, that'd be cool. It'll be interesting to see if he gets booed a lot. I hope he don't get booed too much. But my thoughts are it was a nice road win for Syracuse on Saturday night, playing the zone. Obviously, Cal is a much different team than Duke. Syracuse would have to play a near perfect game to beat Duke. Duke is just, really imposed. They're a good rebounding team. They shoot pretty well. Obviously, they got Cooper Flagg, but they got a lot of other weapons. They shoot well from beyond the arc. They don't turn it over too much. That's an issue for Syracuse. I just would like Syracuse to play a competitive game. I mean, I want them to win. I don't think they're going to win. The spread is, we were talking about offline. I mean, it's like 18, 17 and a half, 18.
Really?
Yeah. At least it might, I just saw it on FanDuel earlier. It could fluctuate. Duke's won 15 in a row. Their 2 losses are to Kansas, Kentucky by a combined 8 points. They beat Auburn, the only team to do that this year. They're good. They're excellent. That being said, Syracuse has beaten Duke when Duke was number 1, or way high up there in the past. I think they did. Did they do it when they played Zion? Was Zion? Maybe they might not have
I
been.
don't think that was the Zion year. Maybe
no.
The Zion year. I'm not sure.
Yeah. But they
have beaten Duke before. It's just been a while.
It's been a while. Or maybe it was the last time they beat. Well, no, they did beat them. It's Duke, I'm pretty sure, at least according to the SU Athletics Department website, has won 9 in a row in this series. So I'm expecting 10. I am, but that doesn't mean, could Syracuse win? They're going to have to make some threes. They can't trade 2s for 3s. They're going to have to rebound well. If Austria decides to entice Duke to shoot 3s by playing zone, you got to hope they miss them. But then out of the zone, it's tougher to rebound. And Syracuse is actually a pretty decent rebounding team this year. But again, in the zone, it's harder. So, you got to get Flag or, Proctor or some of these other guys into foul trouble. They just got to play a near perfect game. And they obviously cannot turn the ball over and get shredded and points off turnovers. I don't think they're going to win. I just hope they don't get blown out like they have against, Maryland or whoever. We don't need to go over every single one, but I hope they keep it close. I feel like the team in the Cal game, which was hard to stay up for because it started at 10 p.m., but there was more energy on the court and even on the bench, guys on the it just seemed, I don't know, I'm not saying they've turned a corner. I'm not saying they're going to beat Duke, but I had kind of to be cheesy, I kind of a warm and fuzzy feeling after that win. I don't know. It just, but that's it. I don't think they're going to win.
You're feeling optimistic, are you?
No, I don't think they're going to win. I hope they keep it close, and I hope they play well. If they play well and Duke's is just way better, then stuff happens and we move on. I just, all the nonsense that's happened in the past in terms of turnovers or just poor shooting, I just don't want to see that stuff. And Donnie, I assume, isn't playing, and I don't even want to hear about it. Just play the guy, just whatever. I wish him well, but if he's not playing again this year, just come out and say, I wish him well,
Okay. Well, we'll end off on that note. Neil, thank you so much for taking the time here. Where can people find you on social media?
I appreciate it. So I'm at Damn Twin, because I'm a twin. And inside the Loud House handle is Loud House FS for Fansided FS. Yes. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.
Awesome. That is Neil Adler from Inside the Loud House. We talked about the schedule. We talked about the expectations for Syracuse football and the goals for Syracuse football. Now, coming up tonight, Syracuse Basketball. We just ended the conversation. They are going to be playing the Duke Blue Devils at home at 7 p.m. Eastern. And win, lose, or draw, there is going to be a post-game reaction podcast. Chances are it's going to be a loss. But you know what? That's okay, because at least we get to watch Cooper Flag. You know what? He's probably going to be the number 1 pick, so at least we get to watch Cooper Flag. That should be a good time. Neil, thank you so much for taking the time. And everyone, talk to you tonight.